Well, I feel a little bit of a fool. I picked FaZe for some reason in the groups, despite Vitality obviously having the better run. They had OG as their opener, and then it was either Mals, not V, which are all teams that Vitality beats every day of the week. This is the team that won the major. And I still didn't pick into them. I think I got tricked by FaZe doing pretty good at Blast, and Twist was super cheap. But obviously, there's a reason that these players were cheap, and anything I gained from Nerts and Yabi, Yabi didn't play well either, so basically a failure across the board. The only plus side was I did well on rolls and boosters. I got actually 2/3 of my points from that, so that's an improvement, but overall, top 60% is a failure. I've had worse results last season, but we're meant to be doing better this season. So we need to rectify. Playoffs. 6 teams, we have ENCE and G2 automatically starting in semis, which means if you pick any players from those teams, they're going to get 6 points of padding per player from the round that they don't play, which is important because we want to maximize the points that we can get. In terms of how we're going to play this, we just want to pick a 2-2-1 setup with 4 players in the grand final. So we want to work out who's going to be in that grand final. From the top bracket, top side of the bracket here, I'd rate it in order of Vitality, then ENCE, then Cloud9. The reason I put ENCE above Cloud9 is because they only have 1 point of failure, whereas Cloud9 have to beat Vitality where they're not favored, then they have to beat ENCE to make it to the grand final. Similar in the lower side, I put Heroic, then G2, then Astralis is the order. And because of this, I think the best teams to draft, as they have been this whole season, are Heroic and Vitality. They're favoured in their opening matchup and are also favoured in their semi-final matchup. The G2 Heroic one's a bit more up in the air, I would say, but still I would favour it towards Heroic. And because we have an extra round of getting points, they're much better to pick into than G2 because m0NESY might get you lots of points in this game, but he only got you 6 points in the game he didn't play. So we're going to run 2 Vitality, 2 Heroic, and then for our 5th player, we're going to pick a ENCE or G2 player. The reason for this is the same thing. We get an automatic 6 points, and then when they lose here, which they hopefully will, we only get the 1 round of negative points, whereas if they lost in the quarterfinal, we'd be racking up negative padding. Now we can draft. First up, it's worth noting that quite a few players have had their prices reduced just because of the quantity of high price players in this event, which means that a few Heroic players in particular are a lot cheaper. Chessa, Shush, and Yabi have all seen big price drops since the last event, but Stan and Katie have stayed the same. Yabi I don't think is a great choice at the moment. He's really dropped off since the start of the year, and is a little bit riskier, although now that he's cheaper, he's definitely more enticing. For me, I'm going to be going Cadian in this draft. His rolls with the AWP is very good, but also he's consistently been the second best player on this team behind Stan for a little bit now. For a team that used to not really have a star, it almost feels like it's going back to more of a normal team dynamic in that sense, but the floor is still very high, and for that reason, I'm picking TSS. I want the extra cash for future picks, and TSS has had some really great games lately, so I think it's a pretty good choice. In the Vitality camp, Apex we're avoiding. We're going for someone else to set us up here. Zywoo is too expensive for this particular draft, so we're going to pick up Magisk. I think he's a great choice. He's been a very consistent player for this team. Always feels like a really good choice. The numbers he's been putting up, particularly at this event, have been great. He absolutely farmed Mals, so really solid pair of hands. It's never really going to cost you. I'd normally prefer to go Spinx over Flamesy because he's slightly more consistent, I would say, whereas Flamesy has a higher potential to tank points if he's getting aggressive and not feeling himself, not hitting his shots, but we're going to back him here. He's a little bit cheaper, which is the main incentive, but he's also seeming to find himself in the team. With 175k left, we're going to do something that I would normally never recommend, and maybe the last time I will. We're picking HooXi. The reason for this is, for our strongmen, we're putting the new role on HooXi, and we're going to put the bottom of the scoreboard one on. For the first round, he's going to get us 6 points by default, and then in the second round, we get points from the booster and roll, even if he does really badly, which means that ideally, in the worst case scenario, it all offsets his bad performance and we don't get the negative padding for the follow-up round. That's going to set us up to have this very strong 2-2 split here, which ideally we're going to see go into the grand final and farm his points. So that's the idea behind that. I've got a similar draft that I put together if you want something with a little bit more risk to it, but still the same kind of formula. This is the stronger man, and this one utilizes Zywoo. Zywoo is going to be the MVP of this event if Vitality wins, so great to have him in the team. We grabbed Apex to enable it. He's obviously the second cheapest player here outside of HooXi. Very risky a lot of the time, but can have some pop-off performances, so that's what we're banking on here. We get Yabi in the mix. Downgrade on KDM, but we're kind of hoping maybe he finds some of his form from the start of the year. And then Madden, who again, risky pick, another player with potentially a high ceiling, but a low floor, and we're banking on the former. And you know, at 189k, pretty good price. And again, this is really about enabling Zywoo. For the truly risky among us though, those shooting for that 1%er, that's the draft we always want to put forward. I represent one called the Risky Man. This one is one that I helped put together, but was mainly put together by a community member of mine, Kenobi, who put forward a Cloud9 Astralis draft. We're using the same HooXi strategy here to enable it. With Device as our superstar, we have some really great roles here. Buzz has found incredible form lately. And if these two teams do manage to do the impossible and make it all the way to the grand finals, this is the team that's going to win the 1%. That's my promise. So let me know what you think. Let me know your drafts, what you're going with, how you're currently sitting overall in the league. And yeah, good luck in the playoffs. I'll see you next time.